already. How many do we have? Do y'all want to wait? We've got 19. Should we wait for a few more?
Yeah, I need to turn off the waiting room. Okay, there we go.
I'll be good to go, Allie.
All right, can y'all hear me? You good?
Yes.
Perfect. Hi, ladies. Thank y'all so much for joining our third quarter virtual happy hour. Really quickly, I want to go ahead and thank our sponsors. We have K2 Construction and Hart Advisors. As y'all know, we don't charge anything for our meetings, our events, or anything like that. We are a true, not-for-profit, and so we couldn't do these events without our sponsors. So thank you to both of you guys. And in lieu of us not being able to have our different events, and the food and wine and venue, what we've done is donate that money that we would have been using to two different local not-for-profits. So both of those, one of them we've actually worked with before, but Emily's Place and Monogram Poster Inc. So both of those, you can find out more information on our social media. But Natalie, I guess if you want to just share a little bit about K2.
You did? Oh yeah. Hey, how are y'all? Anyway, I'm from Natalie Moore and I'm from K2 Construction. I've been on the board for Ladies in Series since one of the day one, I guess you could say. But anyway, K2 Construction is a commercial general contractor in Dallas. We've been around about 17 years. We do mainly commercial, a little bit of data centers, but mainly just corporate office. We do about 140 projects a year, ranging, we have all different sizes. So yeah, we're just excited to be a part of this today. Thanks.
Thanks, Natalie. I'll pick up then. Hart Advisors Group. Basically, we are in the business of doing loan restructuring, advisory work, and also mortgage brokers work. So thank you for having us today. We're really busy, as you can imagine, at this time in the recession. Thank you for letting us be a sponsor and letting us have this event today. We're really excited to be a part of it as usual. I'll go ahead and start because I have my esteemed panel here today. Allison and the team asked us to be a part of this to talk a little bit about our tribe. And one of the things that we have done over the past, I guess, probably 8 or 9 years, maybe longer than that, Kenneth and Kathy can talk to this, is we have a group that we have met through networking circles, very much like Ladies in CRE, that we come together and talk about business and talk about our respective companies. And so we kind of wanted to share some questions. I'm actually going to narrate and answer a few questions, moderate and answer a few questions. And so we'll talk to you a little bit about our group and how we came about and kind of how we support one another on a monthly basis. So I wanted to introduce you. Kathy Mulgrew is with Spencer Consulting. Kenneth Ketchum is with Portfolio Development, and Liz Troshio-Smith is with the Troshio Advantage. I think y'all probably all know these wonderful ladies and their real estate careers, but I'll let them talk for just 2 seconds about each of them, and then we'll talk a little bit about the questions that you had. Kathy?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Tanya. I appreciate you all having us. I'm Kathy Mulgrew with Spencer Consulting, and we develop corporate real estate strategies for companies across the U.S. So we work with organizations that are large enough that they need someone to strategically manage the real estate, but perhaps not large enough that they would have a full-blown corporate real estate department.
Thanks, Kathy. Kenneth?
Hi there. Thanks for having me today. I'm Kenneth with Portfolio Development. I am an apartment developer primarily in the Southwest United States, although I'm currently working on a project in Florida, which I guess counts as the Southwest, but I've never done anything in Florida before. I work with REITs, wealthy families, various investors on both fee development arrangements as well as joint ventures.
Thanks. Liz?
A lot of HUD guarantee financing.
Thank you, Tanya. Good to see everybody.
Yeah.
I'm Liz Troshio-Smith with the Troshio Advantage, as Tanya said, and I do executive coaching and leadership development, do training for corporations, and doing lately a lot of strategy for a lot of my clients, just because of this challenging and unknown time. So glad to be here. I've spoken to your group many times, and I feel like I'm family, so good to be back.
Yeah. So these are not only business associates of mine, but also friends as well. And I know you all know that comes with kind of networking and getting to know people and relationships and doing business together. So I'm going to start out, and each of us are going to answer several questions here. We might chime in on each other, but Kathy, I'm going to direct the first one to you, and let me know how we rely on each other, or how you see that we rely on each other for emotional, spiritual, and business growth.
Yeah, okay. So before I started my business 15 years ago, I met with Kenneth specifically to get her advice and wise counsel, because she had started her company, Portfolio Development, about 5 years prior to that. And not only did she really encourage me to go into business, but she also helped me navigate through the logistics of forming a company. Liz and I go way back. We actually met originally in 1984, where we worked together at Hines, which was my very first job right out of college. And there were very few women at the company at the time, probably very few women in commercial real estate in general. And so Liz really stood out as a leader, and we have just stayed connected all of those years. Prior to us forming this sounding board, I didn't know Tanya extremely well, but we attended the same church, and I knew that our spiritual beliefs aligned very closely, and she has since become one of my favorite friends. So the four of us meet monthly, and we talk about anything and everything related to our business. We've all signed NDAs, so there's nothing off limits, and it's always a safe environment. And so in addition to our monthly meetings, we ping each other weekly, sometimes daily, for requests of support, advice, input, and oftentimes prayer. So to get business advice from these three incredibly dynamic, intelligent, successful, I could go on and on, women is just invaluable to me. And in addition to that, they're three of my favorite human beings. And so they've been really such a support for me personally as well as professionally in some of the most difficult times that I've been through.
Thanks, Kathy. And just so y'all know, Kenneth is really the ringleader of this. We met and just out of nowhere, we had been, I think, on a nominating committee or something together, and we went and had drinks afterwards, and the rest was kind of Kenneth's brainstorm ideas. So Kenneth, why don't you let people know how this got developed, and how long ago was it, by the way?
Your guess is as good as mine. Let's go with it. Yes, we had been in a nominating committee, and So many of the major commitments I've made in my life somehow happen over wine. I'm not sure
Exactly, exactly.
what happened. You've got to really be careful about that. But yes, we went and had a couple of glasses of wine afterwards, and I just brought up that I had seen people in these mastermind groups where they all had similar business interests, but none of them conflicted. So nobody had a competition with the other's business directly, and they helped each other and gave each other advice and sort of served as each other's board. And so I brought up, well, I'd really be interested in doing something like that. And a couple of the girls, they were like, yeah, we could do that. So we started tossing around who would be good candidates, to talk to and bring on board. And originally, when the sounding board started, there were 5 of us. And that evolves over time, because if somebody no longer has their own business or develops a conflict with one of the existing members' businesses, then they have to resign. Unfortunately, we stay friends, but they can't stay on the sounding board just because of the confidential nature of the group. One of the people that I invited into the group early on told me that she had been in a similar group before, and that it had quickly turned into women drinking and chatting, and business was not being done. And that was a great thing for me to hear, because we've made sure that's not what happens. In fact, we allocate the time at our sounding board meetings such that the first 30 minutes we can chat, and after that it's boom. It's on to X amount of time per person, unless somebody needs a little more. Have a special circumstance. And we also call special meetings when somebody has a really urgent need and needs to go over something. That's how it all started.
Yeah. And years later, we've been doing it every single month. I don't think we really have missed that many at all. And so I thought this question might be good for Liz, because Liz is our newest member, although I think she's been on it for 2 years now.
Yeah.
But Liz, what characteristics do you think we each kind of bring to the table to do business together, and kind of how do you see that working?
I'm in my 9th year now of my own business, which is shocking. And I knew about the sounding board, and I actually was with Kenneth one evening drinking wine at a convention. And we started talking about the sounding board and if I might be a candidate for it. And so it's always interesting. If you know me and you know Tanya, we're very big on Strengths Finders, which is an assessment that I think a lot of you have taken, but it's an assessment that talks about your strengths. And so when they invited me to join, I actually asked them all if they wouldn't mind taking the Strengths Finder, because I was curious what everybody did characteristic wise bring to the table. And first of all, we all own different companies, and I think that's important because of never conflicting. We all are focused on something else, and it's really easy for us to step back and look at somebody else's problem and try to help them navigate through it. Where Kathy is very strategic, I have no strategy. So I reach out to her a lot, and we actually work together in some instances and contract each other out, because if I'm working with a client and I need somebody who's really deep in strategy, I'll reach out to Kenneth or I'll reach out to Kathy. If I need somebody who's really good at being analytical, and I've done this many times, I'll reach out to Tanya. And Tanya and I have a lot in common because of the mentoring she does and the coaching I do. And so, the one thing that I thought was really interesting, which I think is a good characteristic, is none of us have empathy. And that's good, because we're not going to feel sorry for each other. We're going to say, put on your good big girl pants and deal with it. And so the characteristics, first and foremost is to trust each other. But then when we bring different talents and different strengths, it just makes it so dynamic. And we know, if somebody needs to strategize, they're not going to call me. It's just not a strength. But if they need to bounce off, an employee issue or a personality issue or how to get business then they'll call me. We're doing more Zoom. I don't even think we've met in person this year. We're doing more Zoom over the last 8 months than anything else. But like Kenneth talked about earlier, we stay connected, and that's part of it. And people come and people go, and sometimes it's not the right personality and not the right characteristic. And you have to be honest with yourself and with them, or this doesn't work.
Right. And I think one thing I'd add to that is we also allow ourselves to be very vulnerable. It is a place where we talk about things that have not gone so well for us. And those of you that are thinking about being an entrepreneur or maybe just in business development, it can be a tough road sometimes. And sometimes we fall down and we don't exactly know the right way to go. So I just want you to know that it's not just all, hey, how do I fix this or how do I do this? It's really just about saying, you know what, I'm just not doing very well at that, and I really need your help to help me understand a different path. And I know for each one of us at different times in our careers and our lives, has been very, very strong to have those women and that support to say, it's okay. And I'm not judging you for that. I know it's hard. So,
Tanya, just to add to that, we don't limit it to business. We all have personal issues that come up too. And when you have that tribe that you can trust, regardless that we signed an NDA, we all know that deep in our hearts, but we've also become such close friends that we know, I can tell Kathy something that's going on in my personal life and she's not going to judge me. And she's going to step back and say, have you thought about this? Or what do you need from me? Do you just need to vent, or do you need my opinion, or do you just need to cry? And that's the joy of it too, is you might start off business, but because you become so intimate and so close, there's nothing we can't talk about.
But I will say during the actual sounding board meetings, we're pretty big on keeping it mostly business unless there's something really life. But we do, have a lot of personal stuff on the side for sure. No question.
I like to say I get to be the poster child of everything that's done wrong. I get to be first. And the girls like to laugh about it, but trust me, I have my laundry list of things I've done wrong. But anyway, so I'm going to ask I had another question down here, and it was for myself, so I'm doing my own question and answer here. But one of the things that was asked on here was, how did you reach your level of success given the industry gender gap, and especially among women in leadership? I'm probably not going to be the traditional person to answer this the traditional glass ceiling way, because I really feel like that we're all on our own paths. And really, it's about taking risk. It's about having confidence. It's about having a network. There's a lot of things that make us successful, and a lot of success is really defined by your success and what you feel your success is, not really what society feels is success. And so I don't have a traditional answer for that, because I really think that, yes, are there bias out there? Is there a gender gap? Is all that exists? Yes. But I don't let that be something that I'm focused on. I'm focused on my own career, my own networking with the right people that can help me be better. And just sharing all of those paths with other people, because, sometimes the ladies can say, I have made mistakes and said, great, that was just not only a mistake, but it was costly. But do I still count it as a success? Yes, because I learned so much from it. So I just would say that let your success be your success. Liz has a different success than I do, and so does Kathy and Kenneth, and they're all different and they're all wonderful. So don't put yourself in there. Just try not to focus on the stereotypes and focus on what you need to do to move your own personal career path forward. I just think that's so much more important than focusing on the male guy over there that is doing X, Y, or Z. I just think it is, because we're all fabulous women and we can multitask around all of them. So I'm all good with it. Let's see what's next. Let's see. Oh, I love this one. Kathy, the next one's for you.
Okay.
How do we handle tough love conversations?
Okay. Among us, among the sounding board, or in general?
Sounding board.
Okay.
No, not with Spencer.
Well, since we're all such withdrawn, quiet, reserved women, haha.
Yep.
No, really. I mean, I just think we have such a great mutual respect and admiration for one another that even in the tough conversations, it's done with grace. And certainly there are a handful of examples of that. But I do want to emphasize something that Liz said earlier. I mean, we're all different women, but we're a lot the same too. And Liz specifically pointed out that Tanya and Kenneth and I really have a more strategic perspective of the world of business. And Liz is the strong executor, which I have no strength in that area at all. And so thank goodness that we all have different perspectives. We have different backgrounds, different childhood, different life experiences. And I really think those differences provide us with such a unique and diverse perspective that we give each other when we come together, that even when it gets tense or I don't agree with you or I have a different opinion, there's this underlying mutual respect that always reigns through.
I've never left mad.
Right, you don't leave Matt, yeah.
Yeah.
So, Kenneth, what women inspire you and why?
You too.
We can also just like flatter each other out of stuff, right?
Just hear and say nice things. No, believe me, sometimes we do have some tough conversations in this, and we learn from each other's mistakes a lot too. Believe me, there's some mistakes these women have made that I'm never going to make because I got to see up close and personal what they did, and I'm not going to step in that. Anyway, the women that inspire me are the ones who have done things in male territory before that was okay to do.
Oh, she froze.
Uh-oh, am I frozen? I'm still moving. Let's see.
Okay,
Okay, am I moving again?
Moving on my end.
I see
Good.
you.
All right, good. Anyway, the women who have done things like, this is going to go way back, but the women air service pilots in World War II. These women stepped out and said, we'll fly airplanes, we'll ferry them. You know, we'll come get these planes where they need to be. And they were ostracized for doing this because it was considered a masculine thing to do and not acceptable for women. And they were wearing pants, for goodness sake. You know, so those women, and I've met a lot of those WASPs, by the way, and they're very cool people. But, you know, one time I saw Madeleine Albright speak, and she said, there's a special place in hell for women who make it up the ladder and don't extend their hand back to other women. And I feel that way very strongly. I think we owe a huge debt, obviously, to Ruth Bader Ginsburg. And then the people that just are out there putting out great messages and encouraging, like Brene Brown. Wow, love her. Just people that help each other and that are put themselves out there and are risk takers and not afraid to step outside the comfort zone.
Because we all need support, no matter how successful we are or how far we are in our careers. Every day is a new day.
Absolutely.
No doubt.
Great. Liz, what would you tell someone or recommend to someone earlier in their career right now to kind of prove their value, but also to make it through tough times like this? Maybe they haven't even been through times like this before.
oh gosh, what advice would I give them? You know, Kenneth said earlier, she quoted that, you know, there's a special place in hell for women that get to the top of the ladder and then don't help other women. Don't be afraid to help other women. Don't look at other women as competition. And so much of us do that. And I'm a big believer in women helping women. Don't be the bitch who is not approachable, who is only in it for themselves. Be the one that's willing to open up their arms and help somebody. But I want you to also make sure that you're taking note. So when you're sitting in a meeting, I read Brene Brown, I think, was saying, when you're sitting in a meeting, don't just take notes, but take note. Look around the table, see who's there, see who's going to be influential for you, volunteer for things, make yourself be noticed. I always made it a point when I was in corporate America to get in front of the CEO, get in front of my direct report, get in front of the legal counsel, get in front of people that are going to make a difference in your career. And in these days and times, even if it's just a phone call, check in with them. How am I doing? Should I be doing something different? Hang around with people who are going to lift you up and make a difference in your life. We're all getting burnout. I just did a seminar today over Zoom for 100 women on burnout, and we're all feeling it and we're all seeing it. And so more important than ever, you have to lift each other up and realize that you're not doing this alone. Ask for help. It's very powerful to ask for help. So lift yourself up. Put yourself out there, get on committees, join other organizations, be a leader. And in times like this, it's even more important so that you make sure that you're not being isolated. You're not sitting at home. You know, a lot of people go nuts sitting at home because they're very extroverted and they can't stand it. Get out there, even if it's picking up the phone or doing a Zoom call, and just make sure that you're getting noticed. I think that's probably the most important part. Don't be a wallflower.
Very, very good counsel. I think a lot of the young women I've been talking to lately also are wondering, hey, am I in the right field? Am I doing the right things and things like that? And that's easy to feel when business is not robust. But a lot of this isn't personal. It is a time we're going through, and we've got to each kind of really be there for people to say, how can we step up and make it better during a really trying time? And I think that's important. So like Liz says, don't feel the right women that you reach out to are there for you. If they're not, or you don't get that warm reception, then they probably have their own insecurities and really are not capable for giving that. But the right women will be there for you, and they'll answer questions and help you.
You know, Tanya, I was in a meeting last week where we were talking about something that I hadn't really thought about, and that's really, and some of you may think I'm weird for even saying this, but how lucky are we that we live in this time right now that is so unprecedented that we have to think out of the box. We have to find imaginative ways. We have to connect with people that we admire and respect and love and have a personal relationship in different ways that we hadn't thought of. So, I mean, we've been forced to really be in this creative, innovative way that we may never be in again. And despite the negativity and despite the difficulties of it, how lucky are we to be in this really unique, special time?
That's very good. I mean, because there's a lot of sunshine right now, even though it doesn't always feel like it. It's hard to look for the blessings, but there are plenty of them around you. And so just keep that in mind.
Yeah.
Kathy, as long as you're talking, what advice would you give your younger self? I love this one.
Oh, wow. Well, my very younger self was awkward and insecure and fearful. In my high school and college days, I really wanted to fit in, but just never did. Not sure why, just never quite fit in. And I entered the business world into what I never expected to be my 30+ year career. I really came into my own. And part of that was, you know, just finding something I love, finding a passion, finding something that just made me spark, something that just really spoke to my soul. But also a big part of that was the great mentors that I had along the way that were really able to see sometimes just one characteristic that they really helped me develop and make a unique presence. And I was not afraid to work hard. And so I knew that I had to be better, smarter, more educated, more driven than anybody in the room. And especially in the, the early to mid 1980s, when there were much fewer women in real estate and fewer women in business. So I knew I had to work harder, and I was never afraid to do that. So I just really found my element despite my sort of awkward childhood. So young Kathy, I'm speaking to you. Hang on, hang in there, because you're going to grow up to have an amazing life with beautiful family and incredible friends and a rewarding career. And everything that you experienced is like a beautiful mosaic of broken pieces that just come together and make this incredible a work of art. So young Kathy, stay humble, stay kind, never look back with regret, because it really all leads to who you end up being today.
Great advice. Very, very good.
You know, Tanya, I just want to add something, because I'm just curious because Kathy said, she knew she had to work hard, be smarter, be the most knowledgeable person in the room. And I always find that interesting, because as women, we do push ourselves. And I don't know that you have to be the best and the smartest and be better than everybody else. And so I almost want to challenge you, Kathy, because you are who you are, and to me, you already are all of that. And I don't think we give ourselves enough credit. You certainly don't give yourself enough credit to know you already have that. And we forget that we already have that. And so we tend to push and push and push. I don't think you have to push that much. I think you just have to know that you're doing the best that you can, and not wear yourself out by trying to be better than everybody else.
Well, that question was really the younger Kathy. The old Kathy's like,
Yeah, okay, just checking.
I'm the old Kathy now, so I'm like, oh, I have this.
Doesn't care anymore. Nice. I love it. Okay, well, Liz, now that you had a little thing there, I'll just keep going down to here. Have you been able to maintain your business relationships during this time, or do you have any advice about that? Because I know you're doing a lot out there to a lot of groups, which is very interesting.
I think sometimes when we have the most challenging times, we really do find the best opportunities. I am really open to always reinventing myself, and any business that you're in, whether you're in construction or if you're a broker, if you're a leasing agent, if you're doing architect, somebody needs help in these trying times. Somebody needs to be reached out to. And I'm fortunate because all of my business is through referrals and repeat business. But this is a time where my clients came to me and said, how do I do this? How do I make sure that everybody's sitting 6 feet apart? How do I, make sure that if I need to downsize, I'm picking the right people? It's an opportunity for you to reach out to those clients and say, what are you going through? How can I help you? And I think most of you know that I do a Monday morning coffee with Liz every morning. And interestingly enough, I get so much response from that. And in times that are so challenging right now, people feel they need to be connected. We're such a social industry that we're missing that connection. And I think if you just connect, if you just reach out, it doesn't have to be, it doesn't have to be by a telephone call. You can just email. I know everybody's probably, sick and tired of Zoom, but Zoom is wonderful. Thank goodness we have it. I have 95% of my business is now on Zoom. I still go into some clients' offices, and that's fine too, because I need the interaction as well as they do. But don't think they don't need you, because this more than ever. And don't feel like you have to go to them with an answer. Just go to them and ask a lot of questions. What are you doing? How are you handling this? What do you need from me? How can I help you? And make sure that connection is there. I mean, my business slowed down just like everybody else's. I went down to about 50% during that peak time, and now I'm having to turn business away because I've got so much going on. And of course, I do play a lot of golf, so that's really by choice. But I'm trying to balance my life. But don't be afraid to reach out to people and say, how can I help? Because there's something you're going to be able to do. And then push yourself out of your comfort zone and reinvent yourself if you need to, and be that person that they go to.
Agreed. One of the questions is around the pandemic and our market versus other markets. And I'm going to speak to this a little bit just because my business is really national. And so I get to see a lot of different markets and how people are adapting to those. Plus, my business, quite honestly, started out of the recession last time. And now we're going through another recession. So because I work through the distressed markets, obviously we're seeing product types, hotels specifically, the first hardest hit. I'm sure that's nothing new to anyone. Now we're seeing retail a little bit more, office a little bit more. Just as you see kind of out there what can hold up, it really matters if, you know, you can put heads on beds and you can get people to go into a restaurant and eat. So what makes us so different, and what does Dallas look like compared to everyone else? Well, this time, not much different. And the reason being is because the pandemic is really affecting everyone about the same way. Whereas markets before that had to do with really more real estate markets and where they were flooded and the capital markets. So regardless of everything, I think we've got some time to go until there's a vaccine or there's a therapy that people are more comfortable coming out and traveling and sleeping in hotels. There are a lot of people that have a lot of reservations for different reasons about COVID. And so I think we really won't see a true, if you will, recovery start until we get to a point where people are willing to come out more and feel more comfortable with their homes and their families and their friends. But all of that to say, I would say Dallas is a great diverse market, and that makes us better than every other market or a lot of other markets just in itself. It's easily located. Again, a lot of diversity, a lot of jobs. So, you know, we will probably weather this storm better than any, you know, a lot of other markets, just like we did last time. So that's just my thought on it. I think the biggest takeaway, I think, for each of you in your own businesses is that even though we're getting out a little bit more, I still think we've got a little ways to go. So hang in there, because it's not really over yet. And then obviously we've all got an election next week that we're not really sure how that looks afterwards, is at least through the end of the year. So that would be a couple of thoughts that I might have just on the markets and the recession.
Tanya, let me ask you a question on that, if I can, before you go on to another question. We're seeing numbers rise in COVID all over the country. You know, a lot in Texas, especially El Paso, which was shocking to me. El Paso has now gone back to being quarantined. And so what are you seeing, because you are all over the country, what are you seeing as far as people, are they going back home? Are they in the office? Are they working? What are they doing?
You know, it's very interesting. We work with lenders all over the country, and a lot of the lenders, believe it or not, never went back to the office. Especially in New York, but even down in Miami and other places, never went back. So they're not even scheduled to go back until the first of the year. I think that could easily be spread out further. I think a lot of what we're seeing as far as tenants, a lot of tenants, especially in office, have continued to pay. So we haven't really seen the impact of delinquencies there. However, this can't go on forever. If we have a tough winter, we're going to see, I think, big changes start happening in the first quarter. And then we're going to see a lot of distressed properties hit the market, which is opportunities for our business, all of our businesses usually in real estate. It's coming because there's a lot going on right now.
Good information. And that's good information for everybody, really, because if this does take a downturn instead of an uptick, if it does take a downturn, more important for you to think about who can you be to help your clients.
Right.
Thank you, Tom.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
And selfishly, to Kathy's point, the opportunities being presented by this, and I hate to use trite words like out of the box, but you are able to think out of the box now and see opportunities completely differently, because there's a lot of new ones popping up that never crossed our minds.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And so find a tribe and start to brainstorm.
Exactly.
Good
And I
advice.
think brainstorm is a good word, because I think that, you know, a lot of us are working from home, and when we do work from home, we seem to get sometimes a little bit more lax, or, oh, maybe I won't finish that today, I'll finish that tomorrow. At least I do. I'm much more productive in the office than I am at home. And I know that varies for different people, but thinking of ways to still be aggressive and out there. I know the people that really, really want to meet with me are saying, is it okay? Are you okay? Where would you be comfortable meeting? You know, still pushing that, hey, I want to talk to you, and continuing that. So it's actually time to be a little bit more aggressive, because a lot of people aren't. And that might get you your next client or your next deal. Love this one. Talk about your journeys prior to running your own company. Dennis, you want to start us out on that?
No, yeah. Yes, I never had any intention of being in commercial real estate. I ended up joining a small commercial real estate, actually an apartment development firm, not long after college, and they grew exponentially, very, very fast. So I was very ambitious at that time, like Kathy was talking about, you know, really just full on the accelerator. And so I took opportunities to do things within the company that were not asked of me, and made sure I got noticed and made sure people saw the work that I could do. And so I grew within that company, and I learned a whole lot about apartment development. And then after I left that company, I did a lot of different things. I was a lender. I did acquisitions and dispositions from the RTC for some individuals out of Michigan. Various steps, but eventually that led me to start my own company in 2001, which again, I had not planned to do. I never planned to work for myself. I always planned to work for people until I worked for people I just could not work for. And so I sort of got pushed off the plank without meaning to, but it was well, you never look back. Once you start working for yourself, it's very hard to ever regret that. Now, sometimes in our sounding board meetings, we have some regrets, because there's tough times where when you're working for yourself, there are going to be really tough times. And I see that somebody needs to ask something here.
Hey, let's see. Let's talk about just overall we were talking about journeys to running our own companies. I think I would echo what Kenneth said, and that is that, you know, I never intended to start my own company either. I don't know if Kathy and Liz feel the same way, but there is something very, very sobering about stepping out with your own flag, regardless of what your career has been in the past. And I think I echo what everyone else says. It can be tough, but so rewarding.
Yeah. And that's the other side of it, right? Yeah, that is.
So, ladies, let's, we have a few more minutes to ask a couple of things. And so in your professional career, I'm going to ask all of us this. What are you most proud of, Liz?
What am I most proud of? You know, it's interesting. Tanya and I have gotten, you know, very much closer since we joined Sounding Board together. And she told me once that when I was in corporate America, I was a bitch. And I loved that. Yes, I loved that, because that's the raw truth. And it wasn't a surprise to me. We get so busy and we get so wound up into trying to be the best and trying to climb the corporate ladder and thinking we have to work harder and faster and better than the men. And I would call my husband at 6 o'clock and say, I'm heading home. Do you need anything? No, dinner's going to be at 7. And then somebody would walk into my office, and at 8 o'clock, I'm still in my office. Learn to let go of that. When I learned to let go of that and realized that your job is not your life.
Right.
And now I have the opportunity to teach other people that. Tanya was right, and I only wish she'd told me it sooner, seriously, because I was so buried in that. So my greatest success is having learned that, being able to share that with other people. Don't lose your identity in your job. It's not going to, when you die, it's not going to say you spent X amount of years at this company.
That is so true. And one of my best mentors told me one time when I was actually going through trying to do the very same thing, Liz, when I worked for GE, and they said, you're a bull in a china closet. And that's how people look at you. And, I would echo everything you said. I took a hard look at that and made some changes in my life and really asked myself, who is Tanya? And when you can really answer that and feel at peace with that and know how you're projecting that to other people, it's big.
Yeah.
Big. Kathy?
You could be very proud of that. And I think everybody always should take a step back and take a hard look at what would other people say about you?
Right.
So if anyone is interested in Liz's How Not to Be a Bitch session,
that's going to be on at 6 when I can have some wine.
Yeah, it's so funny hearing Liz say that, because I mentioned earlier that I've known her 30 plus years, right? And that's the last thing that I would ever say about Liz. So I think I would consider my greatest accomplishment in life is all the really strong, very deep, long-term relationships that I have. And to me, that is a significant investment that you must be willing to make. And those investments in personal relationships and professional relationships have resulted in, tenfold the investments I've made. So I would say that in client relationships that I have, friendships, business relationships, and family. And I always say that, we all talk about a balanced life. And to me, balance is when only one thing is out of balance at the same time. So I just sort of rotate what's out of balance. But I have been pretty good always, but especially in the last 10 years, of making sure that I take care of myself first. And I think often about, if there's airplane turbulence, the little thing comes down and you're supposed to put it on yourself first before you help anybody else. If you're not happy and healthy, then you really can't contribute to somebody else's life. So those are the things that I think of often, just the deep relationships.
Dennis, do you have anything else to add?
And it coattails on Kathy's as well, but when people that you do business with want to come do business with you again or refer you to other people, that's when you've done something right. And that makes me just inordinately happy. Always has, always will. I think that's huge. And that's happening even to this day. It just happened like last week. And it just makes you feel good.
Right.
Makes you feel proud of everything you've done up to that point.
And that's years and years of investment, right, Kenneth? I mean, that's, yeah.
Yeah, it's cumulative. But, it could have been 20 years ago as well, and I would have felt the same way. It's just, wow, I must have done something right. Like this architect I'm working with now, and I keep changing his drawings and thinking he's going to be mad at me and be insulted. And he just referred me to somebody. I thought, well, all right, there you go. He must not mind.
And there is something very nice about not having to bid or give a proposal, just through your reputation. You know, people say, I want to talk to you about when we can get started, instead of I want to talk to you about your fees, or I want to talk to you about, you know, whatever. When they already can trust you because they trust whoever recommended you,
Right.
it's nice.
That's right. Yeah.
So we're going to wrap up now. I think we just have a few minutes here, and I want to thank, on behalf of my sounding board here, I want to say thank you to Ladies in CRE and Allison and the board for having us and just hearing a little bit about our story. And I hope it'll encourage others to kind of get together and start their stories and their tribe, if you will, to help their careers, and know that I know that from the bottom of my heart, every one of us would be here to talk to any young lady in the organization that just needed to know or needed help or just needed shoulder to talk to or lean on. So thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
And I'll chime in. Tanya, Liz, Kenneth, and Kathy, thank you so much. You guys epitomize celebrating each other, and just how you've shared with us today, how you encourage each other and your tribe. I think for me, you know, that's inspiring to go build my tribe to help get through the tough times like today and bring each other, you know, help celebrate each other during the great times like we had pre-COVID. I know the catalyst of Ladies in CRE is really just this. It was to create a group of women helping other women and lifting each other up. And you guys have done that so well. So we really appreciate the insight and you encouraging us to do that. I wanted to just touch on, so we have been doing a lot of charitable highlights over this past, I guess, 8 months now, in lieu of having appetizers and wine. Unfortunately, I'm sorry for those of you that want some right now. And we've been making generous donations. So I just wanted to touch on the two charities that we picked this month. They're both women-based charities. So Emily's Place is a long-term housing for women that are in or escaping domestic violence situations. It actually was founded by some family friends of mine years ago. It's out in Plano. So we've adopted a room before there. We've done a clothing drive for the women to go and be able to have professional clothing that some of our members, you know, no longer want, gently used to go on job interviews and things like that. So we're making a donation to them. And then Mammogram Poster Girls was started by a woman named Sherry Mathis, and she's a 2-time breast cancer survivor. And she's raised over $200,000 to date. And all the proceeds that she raises go directly to initiatives to help get mammograms for women in need that can't afford them. So that's just part of what we want to focus on, is helping other women, not only amongst ourselves, but within our communities. So thank you for inspiring us and sharing your stories and your insight. I know I took a lot away from it. So thank you. And don't forget to go vote if you haven't exercised your right already.
Yes.
Thank you, Allison.
Thank you, guys. Such a pleasure.
Bye, ladies.
Stay well.
See you soon.